All right, this is the Power Hour podcast. Welcome back. We're at Fidelity again. It's one of our favorite places to hang out with. Of course, I got Jeremy, Andrew. I'm Jeff Smith, and guys, great hanging out with you all. You just got back from BPCon, right?
I did, yeah. We were there for like a whole week networking. Florida's nice, a little dirtier than what I was expecting, but it's a nice area. So yeah, that's cool. It's fun.
I know we've missed Andrew for what?
Yeah, we
Good.
2 weeks. Andrew.
Yeah. So funny story. We're driving out here, and I'm over here talking to somebody, and I'm like, dude, I'm running late to HostCon or to Power Hour.
Oh, you're way behind.
And I'm like, I'm late. I'm gonna get there 30 minutes late. And go ahead. It doesn't start till like 10. I thought it started at 9. So you missed 2 weeks. You drive crazy.
You made me up. Now I have to dispo our deals, and I'm just causing chaos and anarchy. Like everything is terrible
I
because
love
Andrew
it.
decided to go to Disney World for a week. So
A week and
thanks
a
for
half.
nothing. Well,
Yeah.
we'll talk about BPCon at the end, but we have our first special guest, Sema. Sema is awesome. We love her so much.
She's a
And
sub 2 student.
she's been sub 2, consistently comes to Power Hour, just super hard working, like just really learning the business and how to talk with people. And she sent us a message the other day. She's like, I'm working on my first sub 2 transaction. So Sema, awesome having you here. Tell us how you found this thing and how the conversations have gone that led you to like do a sub 2 deal on this.
I started my sub 2 journey last November. Pace Morby sub 2, and of course I was still scared. I didn't know how to proceed, and then of course happened to be here in Power Hour. I've been coming daily. I mean every Saturday, even though I'm working, and it's your
You're
hope,
working. You
know?
got 4 kids.
Yeah.
You got 2 jobs.
6 kids.
Oh, 6 kids. Oh man, don't
Yeah, she
shortchange
didn't
her.
lose 2 of them. She's still there.
So that means zero excuses. Zero
So,
excuses.
I didn't know there was any other life out there other than nursing. So I'm a nurse, and Jeff, Andrew, Jeremy, Regina, you guys have been amazing. So anyway, I have been attending every Friday the sub 2 with Jeff in the morning daily dial, and I attend Keston's daily dial every Tuesday. That gave me the power that helped me trust in myself and in the program. And I was supposed to close yesterday, but we'll be closing this November 3rd. So this will be our first deal. I'm hoping to have more deals, and I just want everybody to know this is real.
Yes.
This is real.
So take action. So we'll go through a lot of what you just said. So you're going through the daily dials. You're coming to sub 2 the Power Hour meetups. How has that helped you just with your mindset, with the decision making? How has that helped you in general?
When you come in here, Power Hour, you see the like-minded people and people who are doing the business. And then when I heard that, how you guys make the calls, and I see real people working with the real deals, that's when you realize, okay, it is real. Because I'm a nurse. When I start a new job, they let me work with people, the real actions. When you do it, when you listen it in YouTube and in Facebook and daily dial, sometimes it's hard to believe because you really don't get to see the people,
Yeah.
touch the people. But when we come in here, people hugs us, and when we are in trouble, they're always here. Sometimes we are not here, they'll call and check on us, and
Yeah.
they send us a text message. That then, sometimes everybody gets that depressed state, man, you call so many calls and nothing happens. There are times that, Andrew, you called for me and we came so close, we sent the contract and then they just ghosted us.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and then
It's
4
scary.
weeks later, they called me back with a lot of stories, and I believed it.
Yep.
And I called Andrew. I'm like, hey, Andrew, you know what? This was the problem. They had a death in the family, and Andrew was like, that's not the fact. That's when you realize, man, what Pace says is true. That sellers are liars.
Yeah,
and,
liars, sellers are worse.
sellers are worse. And I'm like,
Wait,
oh
wait,
my
wait,
God.
wait. So the family says we've had a death in our family, and
Yes.
Andrew's first reaction is that's a
Why?
lie.
Because it's funny. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
okay, so
Oh my God.
so
Wow.
we
Listen
have
to this. This is an
I'd
interesting
like to know how
story.
this goes.
okay, so all right, quick tangent. Okay, so we're on the phone, we're trying to lock this deal up, and we put in the offer, and all of a sudden the agent ghosts us. And then you're in sub 2, so you see all the deals that come through, and somebody locked up the deal at a higher price. And they were marketing it for like a month. And when you get text messages about
Yeah.
deals from other people that are not associated with the deal, people are getting desperate to move that deal. So the deal didn't go through, it fell apart, and then all of a sudden, Sema's calling me and saying, "Hey, the agent wants to work with her again." And I'm just like, "No, that's not the truth. Like, that's
not
now
the full
now that
truth.
makes sense.
but no, just to her point, it's like if you're new and you're novice, right? For those of you guys out there that are making calls that are believing people, because at the end of the day, we believe, we want to believe everyone's telling us the truth. So for those of you guys bringing us opportunities, we can sit there and dissect and say, "I've seen this ad before. I've seen this property before."
Me too.
So and it's also ironic too, the house that she's buying. So Sema and I were working on that opportunity as well too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like now it's coming full circle that now she's going to end up buying it she's the end buyer on it. Somebody else locked it up at the price point. But it's just one of those things where it's like the more properties you see, the more deals that you're working, the more opportunities you'll be able to get to. But
I
yeah.
still laugh about that one contract you had, and somebody wanted to help you dispo it, and they posted it in the same group that you've been posting for the past like 3 months. I had we were trolling that post so much. Like,
That's a
wow,
funny
we're
story.
super interested.
Yeah.
Hey Andrew, what do you think about? I was like, I recognize this.
Funny story.
Yeah, she
yes,
told me
so-
that their grandmother died,
Yep.
and then the grandpa was sick and hospitalized.
So what was the reaction to the agent when you said that?
No, we didn't talk to the agent. We didn't like.
Oh,
I
okay.
went back and underwrote it. I'm like, hey, the offer that we gave her at, like that was a tight deal. So Sema's like, hey, it might work again, and I'm like, it's not gonna work. Like it's at this point, I'm assuming from what I heard, they were probably gonna start getting behind on payments. They were the family was just gonna let it go. So, but yeah, I mean, I didn't even reach back out to the agent because it was just like, no,
Okay.
like if they didn't accept our initial offer and they wanted to negotiate again, I'm just like, there's really no play in all this.
But from my experience, what I can tell you, and people that are listening, anytime you guys need help, they're here. Like I said, in my call when I got stuck, they were always here to support me. Jeff and Andrew, they even made the calls for me. Because sometimes when you're new, you get stuck. You don't know what questions to ask, what to look for. Even when I got my first deal, I called them too to let them know, because I was like, okay, is this real? I want to make sure. And right away I saw there was a class that you were taking, Jeff. You remember last week? And I got in just to thank him.
Oh yeah, the webinar.
The webinar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got it just to let him know gratitude,
Yes.
because like I said again, I thought all my life I'm going to work and live as a nurse, and this is a whole different game.
But so now you got a deal under contract. Now you've closed on it on the 3rd, but now it's the next step. Right, renting it out. Now you're a business owner. Now you're going to run that. And so, like we were talking about earlier, it's like, hey, what's the best use of this opportunity? But for you, you got to figure out what that path is. If you want a long-term rental, you want a short-term rental, like whatever that is. To your point, we're here to help support you along that next journey, right? So it doesn't just end here. The relationships that we're building because you're taking action. And here's the real reason why we continue to help you, Sema, is because we see you taking action. If you were just giving us the lead and saying go do all the work, we wouldn't continue to give you feedback. We give you feedback and we help you because you're consistently taking action, and that's what benefits you significantly.
But you know what? We're able to take that action because of the motivation that we get it from here. Because sometimes your family cannot support you because they don't know, and the only thing, like, we're all raised as employees. So we think, okay, that's life. Go to Methodist if we need extra money, pick up extra hours.
Yep.
And then when we come in here, when we hear you guys, when we see that you guys are actually doing, that helps us, And like I said again, after that lady's the lie, I was in bed for like 2-3 days because I couldn't believe that someone would kill their grandmother and make family. I'm telling you, I didn't make any calls. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I even told her, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. You need any help? Can I take you for a lunch? And she agreed for all that. And then I hear this other story from Andrew. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Liars are liars, sellers are worse.
Agents just
That
want
it hits you in the
commission.
face so hard when it happens.
It does. It does.
I want everybody to know that this is real, guys. This
Yeah.
is real. You people are amazing. Thank you.
We appreciate that. All right. Any questions for Sema? Anyone else have other questions?
Before we go, are you on social media like Facebook,
I
Instagram,
am.
where people could find you?
How can people find you and
Yeah.
get a hold of you? Other
Oh.
nurses, other people that want to buy, buyers.
Actually, I'm trying to bring more nurses, and the home that I'm buying, another nurse wants to partner with me.
Ooh.
So I told him I'm actually bringing a few nurses Monday to meet Pace.
Ooh.
Because people,
Nice.
like I said again, all the people that I work, they only know to work. They don't know anything other than the hospital and that environment. So I'm actually bringing quite a few people working in. One nurse who works in Texas Children is coming, and another nurse who works with me is coming. So I'm hoping 4 nurses to be with me.
Oh, fantastic. That'll be great.
So we'll follow back up with you in a month to see how you're doing, see how the progress of the property is, see if you've been able to figure out, hey, am I going to rent it long term? Am I going to do, a group home, whatever it is. So we'll follow back up with you. But where can people connect with you? Do you want to give out your phone number, or do you want to give out your Instagram, or just say, hey, just reach out to Daniel?
Oh, reach out to Daniel.
Your assistant.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Thank you so much for being here, Sema. We appreciate you. So
Thank you,
much.
Sema.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right,
Thank
who's
you,
next?
All right. All right. Let's go. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about. I'm gonna do BPCon first.
Yeah, BPCon. So
Okay.
so those of you guys that don't know what BPCon is, so Bigger Pockets is one of the, I think, the biggest real estate podcasts in all of, or what is.
I listened to their podcast for like a year before I ever did any deal. Like so many people, they start out with either Robert Kiyosaki's book, and then probably the second thing they do is they go to
BPCon.
the Bigger Pockets.
So
Website.
BPCon caters to a lot of like newbie investors. They have a big podcast that they have. It's kind of changed a lot since I think we first started listening to it. But so they have a conference every single year in October, and we book tickets to go there. And it caters to like newbie people. And I know sub 2 and creative financing, we've been trying hard to be able to dig ourselves into like BPCon. There's a big network there. And a lot of BPCon, people in BPCon, they're not really big believers in what creative financing is. So it was a unique experience to go, but it was probably like 3 days or so that we were there. And I mean, just if you guys have never been to a conference like this, the networks there are amazing. There's a lot of private money there. There's a lot of people that are doing really big businesses
How many people
all over
were
the place. I want to say like 2,000 people were attended.
It was that big?
It was massive.
I was thinking
They
like
capped
a
it
couple
out.
hundred people.
They capped it. Yeah, they capped it at 2,000, right?
Oh,
2,500.
wow.
They capped it at 2,500. So it's a lot of newbie investors, right? All of the breakout rooms were full. I mean, these rooms were massive, like 200-300 people in each of the breakout rooms, and there was like 10 breakout rooms. And even some of like the popular breakout rooms, like some of the strategies are getting more mainstream, like midterm rentals, and Hat Split wasn't there, but there's different areas that were there. But anyway, so like a lot of popular breakout rooms, they were just packed, standing room only. Pace is another one too, where it's like people were standing outside just to listen to it. So yeah,
I attended BPCon. I didn't even know I was there. Pace calls me, like he's in one of his workshops at BP. Here's the stupid thing. I was in the gym and I see my phone go off at Pace because I was trying to sell him one of our sub 2 deals. And when he calls, I'm actually thinking BPCon is over. I thought it ran like Thursday to Saturday.
You should have known better.
I should have known better, but that's what I honest to God thought. I was like, Pace is just making his rounds. And then I see this Instagram story like 2 hours later.
So tell that story. So Pace. So this was actually the day before BPCon even started. So BPCon hadn't even started that day.
Oh,
so this was a bonus day.
Oh,
and so there was 2 workshops
That was on
Pace had.
Sunday, right?
Yeah, it was
on
Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah. So BPCon started on Monday. It was Monday, Tuesday. And so Sunday was like breakout, like you had to pay for these breakout sessions or whatever. And so Pace had one in the morning, which we attended, and then he had one in the afternoon.
Okay.
But yeah, so tell your story. So Pace called you in the afternoon.
So this was a deal. Andrew and I had locked this thing up. We were going to do it cash, and then when it went to title, they come to find out there's actually a lot more debt on it. So this was the one that I converted from cash to sub 2 to solve that problem.
Okay.
And it was a 3.5% interest. And now that it's sub 2, we have multiple exits. We can flip it on the market, and that's fine. We can wrap it, or we can assign it to somebody. And we decided, hey, let's try and do a deal with Pace because we've never done one. Let's do that. So I send it over to him and send over all the details, and then I get this text message from Pace like, hey, I'll talk to you in a little bit. So I'm in the gym, I'm doing my thing, and he calls me up, and he just starts talking to me a little bit about the deal. And what's happened to it? What's the deal? Do you have a contractor I can steal? All the things. And then just at the end of the phone call, I was like, okay, yeah, let's do the deal. And so, again, he hangs up, and I'm, of course, and then I bang out a bunch more reps because I'm all jazzed up. We're going to do this deal with Pace. And 2 hours later, I'm checking my Instagram feed, and I see Pace like walking around his phone, and I was like,
he's got the phone,
damn it.
he's got the microphone.
I wish
he blasted out,
yeah.
and Jeff's in front of like 400 people. I wasn't there, but
Somebody posted it.
For like 400
somebody
people.
posted it.
It was like,
It'll probably be a YouTube video because Eric was probably there recording it. Eric's
well, that's something we're actually going to try and do because Pace is coming into town, and hopefully we go to Brandon Street and get some,
the deal.
and really
The
tell
actual
the
deal.
full story of how this particular property happened. But I remember being like, I texted Eric Ballman, the videographer, later. I was like, next time Pace gives me a call, I'm going to just ask him how many hundred people am I actually talking to. God, it was just funny, but it all worked out. And Pace said he laughed with everybody. I was like, I had no idea. It's like, no, because I thought it was over.
Yeah.
So
it's
just
funny.
getting
It's funny
started.
because this is the power of creative financing, right? Somebody brings you a deal and an opportunity, and if you're somebody like Pace, you want to take advantage of that. But obviously, you want to tell a story and teach. But the best part about that story is that he bought the deal, and it's a really good deal. Yeah. But then he goes and he hangs up the phone with Jeff, and he says, "Hey, who wants to lend me the $35,000?" He raised money. And how many people do you think raised their hand? 10 or 15. And he just raised money right there. But that's the power of creative financing, where it's like you don't have to have money. Pace didn't talk to the seller. Pace didn't do anything. Like Pace just got explained the deal, and he's like, "I want it because of X, Y, Z." But then he raised money, so 0 credit, 0 credentials, and then 0 cash into the deal. That's the power of creative financing. The fact that we're able to tell the story and recap it is really cool.
Amazing. He bought the deal. What? Say like 15 minutes. Bought the deal. Raised the capital.
Yeah.
All right there.
Did the whole
And then he
thing.
probably
right
forgot
there.
about it.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking to Base anymore. Who are we talking to? His associates. Molly. And
He's
that.
already moved on.
He's already moved on.
He's already on.
So yeah.
It was wild. Yeah, I texted him the other day. It's like, hey, the rehab's done, because that was the other thing that, like, especially when you're doing any kind of business exchanges with colleagues and friends, is you want to be delivering massive value. Like Alex Hormozy talks about this all the time. So part of our pitch to Pace was, not only are we delivering you a sub-2 deal, we're going to take this thing down and do the rehab ourselves. So by the time you buy it, you can throw in a renter the next day. Like, this is us trying to like provide as much value to whoever you're working with. So Pace gets the story. He got the money raised, probably sold a few sub-2 memberships while he was at it. Kudos for it. And now he's got this whole thing ready to go. So it is a great story.
Yeah. I just drove by the property yesterday. So it's it's already done. We're just waiting for Paige to sign everything. So if you guys are looking for a sub-2 deal, 3% interest rate, the entry fee I think just went up a little bit more because Paige is interested in buying it. But
The other, which one?
no, the one that we sold to Brandon.
Oh, the Brandon.
Yeah. But because we're telling the story now, everyone wants to outbid Paige.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to have a bidding war with Paige Morby,
Good luck.
Good luck. I was going to say good luck on that one.
No, it's good for us. But anyway, so recapping, I'll finish up right here. But if you ever go to a conference like this, the value is not necessarily in the actual workshops. The value is in networking. I mean, I met a founder of a massive company, and I didn't realize he was the founder of a company. We're actually going to use him. I haven't told you guys yet, but we're probably going to use him on one of our direct mail campaigns if we get to that point. So it's like this guy, we're sitting outside on a bench. And I'm like, "Oh, what do you do?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I own this company, I own that." I'm like, I'm over here talking about our sub-2 deals and shit. And he's over here like, "Yeah, I own these 2 massive companies." And I'm just,
Never know who you
and he's actually in a mastermind with all these big influencers too. He's like, "I pay for that just to get access to them." So anyway, that being said, really make connections, meet people that you don't know own a bunch of businesses, but you can also make connections and friends with people. Because at the end of the day, like everyone wants to help each other. I think that's the best. The biggest lesson I learned about BPCon is don't talk about yourself. Ask other people what they're doing, because people love talking about themselves all the time. If you can ask them, "Hey, what are you doing, and how can I provide value to you?" I mean, I brought up Power Hour multiple times. Like, "Hey, we're in front of people. What affiliates can we use? What other things can we put to help you grow your business?" Right? And so people like that. And I think the best connection I made was from a guy. He lives here in Houston. His name is Casey. So shout out Casey. He lives here in Houston. He owns like 150 properties in Wyoming.
Oh wow, interesting.
And,
What part?
I don't know what part of he basically owns the whole state of Wyoming because
Because there's only 100
I used to live there.
houses,
oh
right?
yeah, he probably owns like a bunch of houses in a bunch of areas. But
Yeah.
anyway, he's in sub two actually, and he's not really active. But my point is that like you don't know who you're going to meet, right? You
Yeah.
don't know people you're going to run into, and he's a massive value because he already has a system. He already has all of these things, so he's scaling, and it's like I want to get to that point, right? I want to be in that position. So for me, it's like, hey, how can I provide Casey value? How can I put Casey in a big stage? And then at the end of it, how can I learn from him? Because it's just, you don't know who you're going to run into. And I think that's the best part is, talk to people, talk to as many people. Because we were at, BPCon, shout out Brad, he was able to get a pace booked for our next, our next podcast, right? Which is one of those things where it's like, it's nice because you don't know who you're going to run into. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from BPCon. Network with the vendors because you could be talking to the owner of a $1 billion company potentially, and then also just network with a bunch of people. Yeah, right? That's really good. So that was my biggest takeaway. You have any questions for me?
No, what's the next big event that Bigger Pockets is hosting, or is that their one event per year?
That's their one event per year. I don't really want to promote them that much, but yeah. So there's.
Thank you. Fair enough.
Those of you guys
And you may have heard the little hint that Andrew just dropped on our next episode of Power Hour. We're having the one Pace Morby.
Yeah, he'll be sitting
it's going
here
to be
actually.
awesome. Yeah, he's not going to be sitting in that chair, but he's going to be hanging out with us. Fantastic. Let's get our next guy up here. This is Emilio Ruiz. He's been hanging out with us at Power Hour for days.
He's got moonshine. He brought some moonshine on him.
Yeah.
That's not really
Hey, you-
moonshine, guys.
It's honestly good stuff. Well, don't get my hopes up.
I know, pass it around.
It's kind of good. You just gotta taste it. Believe
Mineral
believe
water.
it. It's the real stuff. It will be the real stuff. You know?
Called the placebo effect.
Oh, okay. So, Emilio, you came to Power Hour maybe 3 weeks ago, I think was the first time, or I'm not sure.
month ago, probably.
About a month and
Yeah,
a month and a half or so ago.
Yeah. So tell us how you found Power Hour and what have you been working on since then?
Found Power Hour on Discord originally, and of course you guys posting about it a lot. The first few times, I was a little apprehensive about it just because I wasn't really sure what to expect. There was somebody actually that reached out to me like the first week of me being in sub 2 that I went to high school with, and he gave me about a little rundown of what the Power Hour was.
Who was it?
I can't remember the guy's name.
I went to high school with him. He remembers me. I don't remember him.
Wait a second.
He went to school in the years with my younger brothers.
Oh, got it.
So you didn't go to school?
Yeah, he didn't go to school
Okay.
directly, but if you knew my younger brothers, you knew me. And there's a lot of people out there that I don't know that know me, and appreciate you guys. Y'all are awesome. You know what I mean? But apparently, they know, he knew of me, and he was like, "Hey, let me reach out." I think he saw me on family night or something like that.
Got it.
And he was like, "Hey, let me figure out what's going on with this guy." So, yeah, got a little bit of an idea from him, and then went to the first meetup. Talked to some guys there. I think George was one of the guys that I ended up talking to.
George meets everybody.
George,
Yeah.
There's clones of him on it. I swear it must be.
Yeah, I don't
He
know
comes
how-
out in every single one of my pictures for some reason. He's just in the back, like
Yeah,
Anybody that's new Power Hours?
He's such a cool guy.
when they look up the definition of photobomb, it's going to be a picture of George. You know what I mean?
really lying.
Yeah, no.
Look behind just in case.
Yeah.
He's
I
my
was looking
Yeah.
for it. No, yeah, George is awesome. So no, I finally came, and when I came, it definitely was different from what the guy originally described it as. I tend to be somebody that's a little more optimistic, and I'll see the silver lining in most of this stuff. Yeah, and immediately it was like, okay, this is awesome. There's high energy. People are gonna force me to call. People are gonna force me to move. I'm gonna be with the horses. I'm gonna run with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that immediately was like ultimate value there. And then just seeing the initial, the initial like 5-minute coaching that you were doing, Jeff, and for all the new people, that was the first time. I was like, okay, crash course, boom, great. all right, now get in here and go be somebody. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right, I like how this works. I like baptism by fire.
Yeah. So, but the value as you come in as a sub 2 student that you have versus everyone else that comes is that you have the network. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes because we're trying to find our own, we're trying to build our own path.
Exactly.
Right. But you have connections with Jeff, you have connections with Jeremy, you have connections with us.
Right.
Somebody's going to bring you a problem all because you're wearing a sub 2 hat and they're like, hey, help me.
Yes.
You have to have that confidence to say, I don't know the answer, but I have a network of people that can figure it out.
Exactly.
You bring it to Jeff, you bring it to Jeremy, you bring it to people like us that can help you solve that problem. So what has been your biggest takeaway from, the month of Power Hour? What can you say? What are the 1 or 2 things you feel like that somebody that's never been to Power Hour is considering it? What's the big takeaway that you can say?
Well, I would have to say that it eliminated the fear of doing it on my own, because I know everybody is having that situation like you're just alluding to. We want to all do it by ourselves. We all want to blaze our own path, but nobody does it by themselves. This is what I'm coming to understand here. And even with Pace, he didn't start by himself. He had somebody that he was underneath and he was learning from. So that being said, knowing where I can get to, or where I can get to as far as what my talent is, it's talking. I can, at this general moment, I can produce great leads. And knowing that I can do that, okay, so I can hit that ceiling and then go to somebody that can finish it.
Yep.
For example, Jeff, he would be somebody that I would bring an agent situation to. Jeremy, I'd bring something that was direct to seller. Earl here, I can bring a tax lien situation to him.
Yeah.
It's leaning on the people that are doing the work now, and they're going to be the ones that get you across the table, that'll give you the experience you need. So when it's time to ride the bike by yourself, training wheels off, baby. It's pretty
Sweet. I love it. Yeah. Another thing too to keep in mind is that, again, we lose sight of, we want to take so much from people. And a lot of the things, the reason that I have gained so much success is that I reached out to Jeff and I'm like, hey, I need help with this. But if I would have never figured out what Jeff needed and give that to him, he would have never consistently helped me. So for example, a subject student brought me something right now, like literally like an hour before we got here. And he's like, hey, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't know what to do either, but I know the guy. And I literally cold called this guy that I haven't spoken to in like 6 months. I met him back at BPCon, so we reconnected. But I'm like, I called him like 6 times in a row. He was like half asleep, waking up, and I'm like, oh shit, like I'm doing some of my shit to do. But I planted a seed and said, hey, what can we do a deal? How can we do a deal together? And so because I planted that seed at BPCon, he was able to help me realize that we're doing really big things here in Houston. He wants to invest here in Houston. He wants to bring his investment money here in Houston. So because I knew that, I said, hey, I have a couple of deals that you might be interested in, which is true. We have a couple of opportunities that he could want to invest in. But if I didn't tell him that initially, he wouldn't have helped me on the back end, which would help. This guy's a foreclosure expert. Like this guy works for Fannie and Freddie Mac. Like he knows everything there needs to know about foreclosures. Like sometimes when we talk about like moving arrear payments to the end on the backside of a foreclosure, he knows like 7 or 10 different ways to be able to do that. Like he knows the technical terms.
Yeah.
Which when he speaks, it's like it hurts my head because he's so smart. Yeah. But my point in that is that don't always go to somebody and say, hey, help me.
Okay.
You always have to say, hey, what do you need?
Right.
And then go and try to find that for that person.
Okay.
Right. So Jeff's doing
And then additionally, like to just tweak one more thing is, also start off with, this is what I can do. Because because the other thing that can happen is you go off with the best of intentions of what do you need? And then they're like, well,
I don't
I
know.
need all kinds of stuff. Well, what can you do?
What
And
can
then
you
they got to figure it out.
Yes.
You say, hey, I'm really good at talking on the phone. I can find some leads. I'd love to find out what you need and see if there's a way I can help you. What are you looking for? That kicks off a really good conversation.
Okay.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And to that too, I mean, we're all in the same business, right? So we're all business owners. We all need help. We all need a lot of things. We need deals and we need money. Those are the 2 things that we need, right? So if you know that about a business owner, you can sit there and say, okay, I can provide that for you. Here's some opportunities that I can give you, right? Or here's some connections and networks that I can give.
Right.
So, but don't always take, because if you take, people are just going to associate you with that.
Of course.
But you as a sub 2 student, people are going to give you a lot because you're in sub 2,
Yes.
right? So, or because you're associated with us. So keep that in mind. Don't always sit there and say, I don't know the answer, and then shut down. Be like, hey, my network knows the answer.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's really good. All right. Any questions?
So when in Power Hour, like, just thinking about kind of your journey so far, what is kind of, what do you think has been one of the most essential things that you have gained by being in sub 2 and Power Hour? And what do you think is your next obstacle for you to level up as you grow?
The biggest thing that I would say that I gained from the Power Hour is knowing that, for example, just making the first initial outreach. I don't need all this extra stuff. All I need is a phone number, the name of whoever it is that I'm reaching out to, and the property address and the values there. I don't need to have a laptop with all of the listing out in front of me and all this other jazz. So in that sense, knowing that I can work with the least amount of information to be able to get started is ultimately like the first thing that I'm seeing is greatest value.
You don't need to over prepare by getting into this. You just need to
because I think
Take
you see
action,
that.
yeah.
I think you see that, right? People want to like take out the laptop, they want to look up the property, they want to underwrite it, and then they turn around and they call the property.
it's already solved.
Yeah, or something like
Yeah,
that,
whatever.
right?
I mean, I think taking action and creating chaos is like the biggest thing. Like, if you really want to do well, like just go make mistakes. Go make excuse my language, go make a shit ton of mistakes.
Yes.
And then bring it to the community. People like Jeff, people like Jeremy. Say, hey, I made this mistake. I don't know what I'm doing. Help me.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
go create chaos.
Yes.
That's the way you take action. That's the way you can really be really successful.
And I can honestly say that I've created quite a bit of chaos even before that I was in here. I saved my grandmother from foreclosure.
Dude,
essentially.
awesome. Wow.
Whoa.
And I wrote up the contract. I did all this other stuff. I did it crazy stupid, but I did it. And
That's so awesome, dude.
that in itself, and then all of the stuff that I've been doing up until this point, getting on the phones with certain people, showing up to the daily dial as much as possible, turning on that camera, doing the little
Small,
things,
yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Progress, yes, I
Yeah,
love
and
that.
creating the better habits that I know that I should have already. But more or less, the next step here is what you were saying earlier is, leading with value. And this is essentially which one my next step was, is saying, hey, I know I can generate leads through all three of you. Whenever you need somebody to generate leads, I'm your guy. Doesn't matter if it's a seller, doesn't matter if it's an agent. But I'm at a point where my time is getting freed up. So I will be able to add the value where you need it. Yeah, I might say, hey, let's partner up on something where I can't finish and get across the finish line. But first, let's put some work in.
Yeah.
Let's get some reps in. Let's do some work.
Yeah. I think that, and I'm changing the way I talk about sub 2, because I used to always say, hey, you don't have to really join sub 2 if you don't want to. But I'm starting to change that narrative a little bit more because I see the impact and how important sub 2 is. It's not just you learn about real estate. You learn a lot about real estate. It's so impactful for people to be able to change your actual mindset. And I think when it starts that way, it changes everything you need to, like, it changes your whole business. And even for me, like, we have businesses that we run, and it's like, okay, well, how can I level up that business? How can Jeff push me into being a better business owner because of what Jeff knows? And what can Jeff teach me to be able to do that? So it's not just, sub 2 is not just for 6 months. It's for the rest of your life. And you have people that come into the community, and you mentioned family night, people that come into family night that Pace was on Zoom for what, like 6 hours with us on family night? He was 2 hours before then, and then he had family night for 4 hours. Like, what other mentor is crazy enough to be able to spend 6 hours with us
At that level.
at that massive level? Like,
to spend that
and
much time.
people that are not in sub 2, they don't see that. They don't see how important and critical that is. And I think that's massive because, you lose sight of that sometimes because we're doing deals and we're being active. Like, to have close proximity to somebody like that is very powerful. And then he's doing a lot for zero down as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think, if I'm going to change the narrative a little bit because I think people do need to join sub two
And-
because it helps them more than with just their business.
And I think that building off of like what you're saying, the thing about like we don't realize sometimes we're so blessed with like zero down. He's giving all this information for free.
Yep.
You know, he
For
just
sub
gave
two
you,
students.
yeah, for sub two students, right? Like you just had to do some homework. You had to go just network, right, and do a couple little things.
It's funny. He wants us to do the thing that's important for us.
Yeah,
That's our homework.
Yeah,
Go meet
50,
friends.
Yeah, meeting 50 new
In sub
people
two.
that
Right.
you've never talked to, right?
Exactly.
And have that opportunity. All this information is being right there for you.
Yeah.
Given to you.
He's playing chess for sure, like a high level of chess. And you know, he does that multiple. I mean, I have multiple private money lenders because he's like, hey, I'm going to do this, and you have to take action. So yeah, it's definitely amazing. Anything to add?
No, that was a great summary. I've kind of started to change my mind on that too. And yeah, even I need to like, I know obviously tons of people from Daily Dial, but I need to go out and I need to up my networking game too. So
I think
I got my
all
homework,
do.
which is something like, you know, you were saying, you know, you learn stuff from me. Like I learn stuff from you guys constantly.
Yeah.
Like Andrew's a master networker. Like that's something I know I need to improve. Jeremy's chasing after this zero down stuff. Like I'm going to come to him very soon and start asking him about it. And Amelia, like even when we did call calibration, like there's even things that you do. Like I was like, you always, there's everyone you can learn something from. To always be humble, always keep learning.
So what happened with that call calibration? Tell me about that story.
So,
Was that on the Daily Dial?
No, Emilio
No.
basically he just reaches out to me because he's been on Daily Dial. He's like, dude, like, can I talk you through this one? Like, I'm hunting down this deal. And
So
like,
Emilio
yeah, let's do this.
Amelia
Emilio,
submitted a call calibration to you.
yeah, he just shoots me a message on Instagram. Like,
Okay.
he knows I got the channel. He's like, can we do
Yeah.
this? It's like, I'd be delighted to. Let's go
Yeah.
because he shows up and he works.
So what was the feedback that Jeff gave you that you felt like was important for you to change the conversation?
the consequence question, and then the payoff question. I kind of screwed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I did the consequence without the payoff,
Yes.
but I hit the payoff on the next call the next day.
So people are listening to you like, what the heck's going on? So you're basically, you asked a question that you could have asked it a different way. Like, so it's the quality of how you asked the question, right?
Exactly.
But-
I was trying to get to because where I got stuck at was numbers. I was reluctant to give a number. She was reluctant to give me information about other offers and other numbers and so on and so forth. So we were kind of at that impasse, and I went at it trying to say, okay, well, what could happen if we don't make this sale by X date? And that threw it off because I didn't get the payoff right afterwards or before, thinking I probably went with a payoff before and then hit the consequence after. And
Part of it was the entirety of the problem that she was facing hadn't been fully identified.
yes,
And so that's where you're at. But that was stuff that we started adjusting, like, hey, this scenario isn't fully clear yet. So these other questions of implication and need payoff is what I coach.
Mhm.
They're not quite set yet. And then also like start to low anchor it and just test it a little bit. Like they want 20 grand an acre for it. It's like, okay, like I'm happy to go to talk to my underwriter. Like, I'll go talk with Jeff. Like what happens if he says 16 is his number? Like, is there flexibility here?
Mhm.
And you have to be comfortable pushing into that. So
yes.
there's some, I can't wait to listen to the next call.
Oh man,
I think when you find somebody that's really good, like Jeff, and I hope he can post more videos on like his conversations as well too, and even breaking them down too, because once you understand the foundation of how to ask questions, the sequencing of asking questions, the importance of asking specific questions, negotiation doesn't necessarily become about numbers. It's literally about this quality of the skill of the conversation.
Okay.
And I think that when I heard him on the phone, I was like once he taught me a lot of most of what he knew, I was like, holy cow, like that's beautiful. And then you hear people like Pace, and there's so many layers to these conversations that as a newbie, if you don't understand the foundation, you don't understand how powerful that is.
yes.
Like what he just mentioned right now, like how you ask those questions, and it's the tone and when you ask them as well too.
Of
It's so
course.
powerful because the other person on the other phone, once you figure out this skill, you can do it like crazy, and the other people they literally have no chance. They have zero opportunities because you're a trained negotiator. And I think people don't understand that, because when you start learning how to sell, guess what? You don't just sell yourself on buying, with somebody that you're trying to buy the house from. You're trying to do that on the dispo side. You're trying to do that with other people, your friends, your family. You're trying to raise money. Guess what you're doing? You're negotiating, you're selling.
Yeah.
So just this fundamental skill that he's taught me is going to make me $100 million in my whole lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. But because of what Jeff has taught me and the foundation that he's given me, which is really critical. So I'm glad you're reaping that benefit as well. Too.
Awesome.
All right, we're wrapping up here. Power Hour, it was a success. I think the biggest thing for Power Hour, us moving forward, is we really want to start doing Q&As for people. So if you guys are watching, you have questions that you want to ask us, I get a lot of DMs like, hey, how do I get started? Hey, how do I do this? So come do the Power Hour podcast. Come live. We're going to start doing them live. But ask us questions. We really want to answer your questions live. Come visit us live. We can have you sit down in the chair. You have a specific question, you have a property that you want to underwrite. Like, let us know. We want to help you, right? But we create this Power Hour ecosystem from a specific time, so that way we don't have to answer the DMs over and over again. We can record it. You can sit in this chair like Amelo is, asking the questions, and we can help you along the way, right?
Yeah, that's what it's here for. We made it for you guys, and so we can also, have people like Pace come on. We're going to have some other great guests that you're going to have questions, but we're always going to have people just getting started like Emilio, and then next week Emilio will be a multi-billionaire, and we'll have other questions.
Let's go, baby.
That's for sure. All right, that's
Guys,
a wrap.
that is the Power Hour podcast. See you on Monday with Pace Morby. Later.
Woo!